We have been enhancing the Sports Heroes project from the YByte Python curriculum available at www.ybyte.in. In fact, we have looked at a bunch of bonus ideas. Here's one more where we are going to introduce more tournaments into the mix. Specifically, we are going to get in US Open and then also Australian Open. Now, in fact, let's say the groundwork for this is already done because, as you saw, we made the code quite flexible to analyze, do the comparative analysis, and hence all we need to do really is to get these CSV files into a program and call them in the functions, as we'll see in this video. So really almost half the work is done. So I just got this usopen.csv, once again, year, country, champion, runner-up, and likewise Australian Open.csv, so year, country, champion, runner-up. Let's just see how I can call them. So all I need to do, let's start with the US Open. So I can just go and say, well, US Open, data is, well, read this CSV data given by US Open. Now, mind you, this is the name of the file that we're expecting, and since I named it US Open.csv, I won't be giving any space over here between US and Open, just like French Open, just exactly the same. Now, having done this, I would want this to be analyzed. So I'm just going to say, well, let me just copy this whole thing over. And this time around, I'm going to say, well, return me two sets, one US Open winners and also US Open MTO winners, US Open MTO winners by analyzing for, say, US Open. And what we'll be analyzing is US Open data, right? So let me present it the same exact way. Now for the comparative analysis, which is the flexible function, I'm going to add to the mix US Open. So US Open. And all I need to do is to add one more argument to this function, which is say US Open. So US Open winners. That's all I need to do, right? So when I do this, uh, so when I run this code and I look at my analysis.dat, as expected, first it reports for Wimbledon, so I get all the winners. Then I get a country-centric view. Then I get the people who have been in finals. How many times have they been in finals? How many times have they won it? Then I have this streaks, as we have done before. Same thing for French Open. I get all the information about French Open here, the streaks. Next, notice from line 165 onwards, I'm reporting for US Open. So 57 times it has been played, 31 unique winners. Jimmy Connors, Pete Sampras, these are the leading winners, and Roger Federer. Well, these names are not new to us. These are great players. We have seen them winning other tournaments as well. So I keep going, I get to know that 19 times US Open has been won by people from the US itself. And those names are available here. Then I have this, list of who are the finalists in US Open, and then finally the winning streaks. Next comes the comparative analysis. So again here, 51 people have won either of these tournaments. It could be, more than once. 8 of these have won all 8. Basically, they won Wimbledon, they won French Open, they've also won the US Open. So must be really amazing. 8 of these here. Um, some of them have won Wimbledon but not French Open but not others. So Wimbledon but not French Open and US Open, French Open and not others, US Open not others, and there are these who have won just one. Basically, that as we saw is the union of all these three. Now, one thing to notice here is quite interesting. These are all set operations. Remember, sets are not ordered, and that's why these names, they're all the same, but they don't appear in the exact same order because there is no notion of order in a set. It's just a collection. You are seeing this in action very clearly over here. Now, if I want to enhance this for Australian Opens, once again, I've got the Australian Open data again from the same sources. I just have to format it a little bit like we have discussed in the past. So I go into my code here. I just go and say, well, Aus Open data, let's say Aus Open underscore data is equal to say read CSV data. Let's say AUSDA. So, sorry, Aus Open. Let me just make sure that is the name of the files, Aus Open.csv. So that's all I want. Now I'm going to just add this over here, one more line of code here. So let's say this is AUS Open winners, Australian Open winners. Let's say AUS Open MTO winners. And of course, this was going to be AUS Open data. Now here the comparative analysis will get more arguments. So I just go and say say Open, so Australian Open. And of course, I'm going to pass in more arguments here. So say Aus Open winners, right? And really, that's all we need because our function is flexible. Oh, So just as I check, I realize that this should be Australian Open. Now from so now when I run my file and I look at my analysis.dat, starts with Wimbledon as expected, goes to French Open, goes to US Open line 165 onwards, and if I keep going down, now I will have data also for the Australian Open. So now this is for Australian Open for line 259 onwards. Well, amazing. It looks like Novak Djokovic has won this 10 times. I mean, just incredible how many times he has won these tournaments, right? Federer has won this 6 times, and so on. Now, obviously, then we have the comparative analysis. So 13 winners have come from the USA. I have the comparative analysis as well. So winning streaks here. The comparative analysis tells me, look, 58 people have won either or. 5 people have won all these tournaments. There are just 5 people who have won all 5 Grand Slams, all 4 Grand Slams. They are as mentioned here. And then we have all those others. People have won Wimbledon, but not the others. People have won French Open, not the others, and so on. And then finally, a union of all this. So really pretty interesting insight, and all of this possible because set operations give us these features which we are able to use, for example, union, intersection, and so on. At this point, do reflect for a moment. If we had not made our function flexible, the comparative analysis function flexible, then we would have to basically write, we'd have to extend these statements. It could be quite painful. Now, if I want to add, let's say, a fifth tournament to this, I can find one always. Again, I'll have to modify this. But because they are flexible, I'm able to do this for 3, for 4 without any problem, right? So that's the beauty of the approach we've taken. But I hope you found this interesting. And in general, this way of learning, where we are using Python to analyze data that's of interest to us, that excites us, is, I think, a great way to learn programming. Look at our website, www.ybyte.in, because this is how we learn Python programming. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye bye.